time it just goes straight line. Okay, dang, it did go straight line. What a surprise. Morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're at in the country. But there's a link right there. We're gonna get to that in probably about 5 minutes. But first, I need to really cover the respectful ground that I'm coming on before I say anything, because I don't want anybody to think that this is about disrespect. Um, Late last year, early this year, I made a lot of videos talking about a lot of different things. Some of the things have come into fruition more so than others. Um, the horse she rode in on, and the horse she rode in on. We already know how that phrase starts. We know how the phrase ends. There's no real need for me to really press it on anybody. But I should say that I need to say that there's a lot of cats who probably have believed that the things that I've said are not going to happen and that are happening right now, right in front of their faces. Two things. This isn't a laughing matter. That's number one. Number two, this is not an I told you so matter. Okay? There's nothing righteous about being right about something that makes it to where the people end up hurt. So I don't take glory in that. Really, there's a lot of gloom in that. But however, there was a very interesting article. I've never seen one like it ever before. Never. Um, White House official pretty much gets documents that are, I guess, that are unclassified, makes them public, right? You know, you can't share the screen anymore unless you're streaming. But that will change here in about 2 weeks when I get this next check. Then I'm able to check out some streaming options. I'm pretty sure they're not that expensive, you know. And it's worth me spending that kind of money to be able to share and show you the information. It's worth that to me. So, in the article, I want to pull it up on my, where I can see everything. And I'm just going to go back to some of the slides. We're not going to start with the last slide. We're going to start with the very first one in good order. And it says unclassified, August 12, 2019. Honorable Richard Burr, Chairman, Select Committee on Intelligence, United States Senate. And this is somebody speaking to them. A declassified whistleblower, House Permanent Select Committee. The Honorable Adam Schiff, Chairman. So this is speaking to Richard Burr and Adam Schiff, right? And Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, right? United States House of Representatives. So one's from the Senate, one's from the House of Reps, right? Clearly one has more power in an individual basis, but the other has a greater group power and their collective basis. The Senate being the individual power, even though there's Democrats and Republicans, and the House of Reps being the greater group power, being the House of Representatives. However, now we're not going to read every single little piece of this, but it says right here, I am reporting an urgent concern. One moment. In accordance with the procedures outlined in 50 U.S.C. 3033, I'm thinking paragraph K, Article 5, whatever, and it would be, Section A under that, because it's K5A, but these are obviously things that are correspond with that one section. This letter is unclassified when separated from the attachment. Did you hear that? This letter is unclassified when separated from the attachment. So whatever the attachment that they had, they took off of it, but this letter in otherwise words would be classified. This is why people like, this is the horse you rode in on. Yes, this is the horse you rode in on, because what they're doing right now is going to be their own undoing. And I'm not saying that it won't work on D. Treasy. I don't think it will. I think it's going to blow up in their face. But the horse she rode in on is a lot of what people hold their esteem in. And right now, this person's holding their esteem in being able to stop the building of the wall. This all really has to do with the wall, y'all. More so than you know or not. These guys can just now start to speak on it. But I've been talking about the wall since before the wall was even built. I told people the wall was coming. I was sure the wall was going to get built. I've been like, it's biblical prophecy. Has to happen. There's no confusion in my mind. People are like, I can't believe this guy's going with biblical prophecy. I'm like, I can't believe you're not. I can't believe you believe in cloned sheep, but you don't think that Eve, the second wife, not the first wife of Adam, was a clone. However, we're not even going to get carried away into that. What we'll say is this. You have a group of people right now who are treading on the most dangerous wire. I've never seen anything like this, y'all. I have never seen anything like this. It's been made unclassified to the public. Why? Why would they do that? Why would you do that? What is so dangerous about this, man? You can't say it's the threat of war, because there was the belief of the threat of war with Russia for sure if Hillary Clinton had took office. Do people not remember that? She was supporting Ukraine and all their efforts. And there's people who were like, well, we believe in that. I'm like, well, you're trying to destabilize the political balance of the region. Therefore, the balance of powers throughout the world. It can't happen. If people don't listen to what all the other foreign leaders are saying, they're not saying that the United States can't practice sovereignty within the United States. They're saying that you can't practice your sovereignty within our land, upon our people, and furthermore, upon the culture that has created our people. But the horse you rode in on is dangerous. And you being the people who put together this article, because they know that they put it together, and people who believe in this sort of thinking, people who are like, oh, they're trying to impeach him. Yeah. I'm like, who? So who's next runner up? I need you to understand this. Imagine this. Imagine he survived the process of being impeached throughout his presidential process, was impeached and then juxtaposed. Do you know that Mike Pence takes over, not a Democrat? No? Okay. Anyway. People just don't. People go, there's going to be an emergency election. They wouldn't even let that happen. They wouldn't even let that happen. I'm going to read about the part where it talks about the sons right there of Joe Biden. So look, former vice president of Joseph Biden and his son Hunter Biden, right on, assist purportedly in uncovering the allegation in Russia's interference in the 2016 U.S. presidential election, or originated in Ukraine, with the specific request that the Ukrainian leader locate and turn over servers used by the Democratic National Committee and examined, or the DNC, and examined by U.S. cybersecurity from CrowdStrike, which initially reported that Russian hackers had penetrated the DNC networks in 2016, and meet or speak with two people that the president named explicitly as his personal envoys, on these matters, Mr. Giuliani and Attorney General Barr, to whom the president referred multiple times in tandem. Now, I need to read something to you guys. Executive Order 13526, right? And it's talking about declassified information, Part 1, Section 1, right? And this is why this person is able to release this. There is an ample open source information about the efforts described below, including statements by the president and Mr. Giuliani. In addition, based on my personal observations, This is a person who's the whistleblower. We don't know who Mai is. We don't know who that is. But somebody does, based on how this is written. Somebody in the White House knows who it is and just doesn't want to call them out. There's a level of discretion you have to have, as I'm about to read that same word. Based on my personal observation, there is discretion with respect to the classification of private comments by or based on, by or instructions from the president, including his communications with foreign leaders, information that is not related to U.S. foreign policy and national security, such as the information contained in this document. When separated from the enclosure, is generally treated as unclassified. I also believe that applying the classification marking this information would violate Executive Order 13526, Part 1, Section 1.7, which states, in no case shall information be classified, continued, maintained as classified, or failed to be declassified in order to conceal violations of the law, right on, inefficiency, or administrative error, preventive embarrassment to a person, organization, or agency. It is listen, did you hear that? This person says, based on what I feel has happened. Listen, this person's a clerk, y'all. I'm putting all kinds of freaking money on it. If you didn't watch that last little stream I did about the powers of the clerk, this is why this shit is so epic. If the president doesn't know, I just told you who the whistleblower is. Whichever one of the clerks you fired or is still in there and they've been extra whatever, man, boy, they're dangerous. This is a clerk who did this. Somebody of a clerk type status, because they're speaking on the administrative standards. And for you to know this, you would have to know the rules. Understand this. They didn't just pick this out. All right. They weren't just found out of a crowd of people and said, hey, we know that you can use this part of the executive order and say, hey, he violated it in this way. No. This is a person who worked in that facet and arena. Believe that. This is dangerous, y'all. I'm trying to tell you. The horse she rode in on. That's why I had to point out the clerk when I did. Who knew this was going to happen? This is fresh. You need to really look at this information because it could get pulled from MSN. You know, obviously it's unclassified, and who knows if MSN is trying to stoke flames or whatever. But oh man, it's dangerous. Because you guys just heard me read to you that pretty much if they think that you're doing something illegal or that an error has taken place that has to be pretty much spoke on, right? And what they're trying to say is that it wasn't for national security purposes that the president, and I didn't read that to you, but this is just based on my memory. It wasn't for national security purposes, it was for political purposes. Now, why this is so funny is because the word political or policy are words that are synonymous. And when you talk about policy, your policy is based on your standards for national security. So when you talk about a political conversation could very well have ramifications of national security standards. That's just me throwing it out there. I don't know if White House reps have thought about that or if they're just not that aggressive. You know, it would have been thrown out there though. And this wouldn't be out here on the internet for me to read to you guys if I was in control of stuff. Because I can't read it all to you. I don't want to read it all it would take way too long, number one. Number two, there's some language in it that I totally disagree with, and I would find myself veering off course. But I just wanted to really just break it down, where I'm coming from and the horse you rode in on. Now we're going to skip all the way to the last page. All right. I want you guys to hear this language. This is dangerous language. Okay. Here we are. On July 18, an of Office of Management and Budget (OMB) official informed departments and agencies that the president earlier that month had issued instructions to suspend all security assistance to Ukraine. Neither OMB nor the NSC staff knew why this instruction had been issued. During interagency meetings on July on 23 July and 26 July, OMB officials again stated explicitly that the instructions to suspend this assistance had come directly from the president, but they were still unaware of a policy rationale. Listen, listen. This is why I had to bring up that term political and then national security. They were unaware of a policy rationale, not a national security rationale, but a policy one. What? So now all of a sudden it's about political shit? But it could very well, see, this is why you have to really pay attention to the words. As of early as August 1st of August, I heard from U.S. officials that some Ukrainian officials were aware that the U.S. aid might be in jeopardy, but I don't know how or when they learned of it. So check this out. We're in September right now, September 26th. These people learned of it in early August, right? That it could happen. I'm not saying that they couldn't have known or that it can't be known, but I want you guys to really get this. The horse they rode in on is a broke down, rickety old horse, and it's a dangerous one because it's going to turn on everybody who's involved. Like, you got to realize the emails that Hillary Clinton tried to have covered up were a big deal during the election. And you're going to have to go and relook at that. And I'm not talking about that to bring it up. I'm talking about it for the context of what was involved. Because the horse that they rode in on got broke down back then. Okay? These same people who tried to get Trump pretty much bumped off or pushed out of the election window. And what happened was there was this scandal about people who had pretty much taken advantage of young children and still were, and as some of the most infamous, there we go, some of the most infamous yet well-known prostitution rings and people trafficking circumstances, they were saying had political ramifications. Now, you can't really say that that's a matter of national security. These are just people who deserve to be put in prison or worse, depending on what they've done. But at the same time, the horse that they rode in on broke down on. I want y'all to understand, okay? Because there's no way Trump seen the whole Pizzagate thing coming together. I don't think people understand. That's what Pizzagate is, what messed up YouTube years ago. It's what changed everything. Anybody remember that? When all those YouTubers started complaining about their channels getting flagged and their money wasn't right. This was that. That was that. It was Pizzagate. It was people who were talking about that. But the horse they rode in on wasn't the Pizzagate horse. You understand? It was, we're gonna expose Trump on this level for his criminal activities in Russia, right? And so then it became, if you're gonna poke at Trump, you gotta poke at Hillary Clinton. When they poked at Hillary Clinton and they started to go after some of the people that were some of her donors and this, that, and the other, it came out that a lot of these different individuals that were related to them that were involved in really nefarious activity and very questionable activity. And even furthermore, what it made clear was that people had to pick a side. So you can say that this guy's a moron, racist, bigot, whatever. But it's like, this guy has a bunch of kids. All of his kids are still alive. His children have children. To me, they have a strong regardless of what they say, they have a strong understanding of what a man and what a woman is. Uh, you know what I mean? So it's like Donald Trump, whether people want to say it or not, has actually played the role of a strong patriarch. Now, slow your roll. I'm not giving him super credit. I'm just pointing out a simple fact. With that said, he was more of a danger to the establishment than a person like, let's say, uh, Bernie Sanders, right on, whose daughter is married to uh, Huckabee or whatever, right? You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I mean? And she's a joke, right? And she was all in the White House, right? You follow what I'm talking about? Like, I mean, just like really get this. Like, the, the horse they rode in on brought down shit on them that they didn't see coming. I see this turning on whoever brought this up is going to turn on the people that they intended it for it to help, because you can't overlook whatever's going on in Ukraine with Joe Biden and his son, or whatever did go down in Ukraine with Joe Biden and his son. Can't be overlooked, can it? I mean, can you just say like it doesn't matter, or can you be like, yeah, that shit's important, dog? Like, yeah, you're right, that fucking matters. It does. It has to matter, because if it doesn't, then you're gonna pretty much say that come that time, once again, if a person can say that it doesn't matter, they're gonna pretty much make an excuse for for veering in the lane of the lesser evil when they should stay out of both lanes of evil. You follow what I'm saying? And that's the danger of all these things. But when I get to say it now out of my full breath, fuck you and the horse you rode in on. I get to say it against people who I know don't think that something bad is going to happen to them. They think that they did the right thing when they did that. They're stupid. They're going to be, once again, people like that are part of the reason as to how I know that it's coming to an end. That should, I could never think of a time when that happened to Obama, and people hated Obama. I mean, can you think of a time? Anybody? No, you can't. We have videos of like George Bush failing to act when 9/11 happens. He's in a room. We've all seen that. If you haven't, I forget what it's called. Anyway, George Bush is in the room reading books to little kids. When they tell him that 9/11 happens, they tell this motherfucker twice that 9/11 happens before he does anything. Okay? I'm thinking he's making sure. He's like, no, I got to make sure it's really going down, because he might have had a little at stake, or he just might have been puckering up, and afraid that he was gonna soil his pants. Who knows? I couldn't care less. Point is this: when that happened, the man showed us that you can be exposed without. You don't have to. Nobody has to upload documents of you. We can just there. It was a video. It was videotaped. He was right there. It was George Bush. You couldn't deny it. So my whole thing is like, if they really had something on the president that was really damning, they would show it. That would give people a second thought to the man's character. But people have to realize that with all the damage that was done to Bush's character, he still managed to win the second election. Now they can say that that's the political machine, this, that, the other. But he was in a very similar Trump-esque, or Trump is in a very Bush-esque situation, where all the competition is, I'm being bopping him. I'm up against John Edwards and John Kerry. I'm about to win. You feel me? Neither one of these dudes have the swag to go over here and bulldog these cats like it has to get done. And that's what Bush could lay his laurels on, because he had Dick Cheney as his running mate. And them old racist white dudes knew that Dick Cheney was a cold killer. It's really simple. It's not nothing complicated. But once again, if you're going to compare Mike Pence to Dick Cheney, which is a strong comparison, only Mike Pence hasn't, for what we know, he hasn't shot his hunting buddy in the face, and claimed it was an accident. Guy is dangerous as fuck. Excuse my language, but that dude, he's dangerous. And I don't think people understand, like, Pence would be the immediate front runner to take over the presidential office. The immediate front runner. That's how basic it is. It's how simple it is. So people have to realize now, either you choose to pick a person who's going to potentially run with a homosexual. I already told Andre what's going to happen. You're going to pick a gay person, right? Not us. I don't vote, so it doesn't matter. So we'll pick a gay person and a chick. I don't think people even care that either one could take place. I don't fancy being under the control of any female. You know what I mean? I moved out of my mother's house so that way I wasn't I could be out of under her control. You know what I'm saying? So I don't need for the country to be under the supervision of a person who thinks that it's okay for her son to be a homosexual, right? And we can just sperm bank and in vitro fertilize our way into the future. That's madness. That's madness. And and there's a lot of people who think like that. And it's unfortunate that they think like that. But on the other end of all that, you really do have to look at like how people are going to take everything. The horse they rode in on, man, it's a cold one. I was just gonna go flame bang on this topic and just go from here to there and everywhere. But when I pulled this up, I was like, oh wow, this is a spicy meatball right here. Because I don't know if it's going to keep it up. They might take that stuff down. Like they're known to do that. The information is, listen, y'all, listen to me. The information is supposed to be classified. They explain why they declassified it or why they went through the process of getting it declassified or why they went through the process of saying that it didn't rate being made classified. Wow. That's deep. For them to do that, they have to have played a clerical position. So a clerk did this. Now, are people realizing the dangers of the clerk or the powers of the clerk? Right on. Or the recorder? Thank you very much. This is why you got to be aware of what's going on. Okay, check this out. Quiet is kept because a lot of people probably ain't paying attention to it. But one of the parents in the college scandal, this dude got 4 months in prison, right? Now he only paid like $250,000, $250,000, right? Which is a lot of money. When I say only, now you got to recognize this. This guy took a plea deal, still gets 4 months, has to pay like a $90,000 fine, do so much community service. But he takes a plea deal. So, I mean, I expect him to go. When you take the plea deal, you expect him to go easy on you. Like, that's the idea of taking the plea. Pleading out is that way you get mercy, supposedly, right? As opposed to going to the box and risking, but you could get found innocent. Now, the crime is fraud. Fraud is a serious crime depending on the nature that it takes place in. The horse that they rode in on in those colleges was that I have more money than these poor people, right? But guess who's screwed ultimately in this whole aftermath of all this? Poor people. Because guess what they're going to look into next is people who come from backgrounds of of financial dividends that are better off than not, that have been on student loans or that have been on grants. Yep, they're going to look into that now. No, don't worry. Don't worry. They haven't said it out loud because they don't have to. When they do, they're gonna poor people who thought they beat the system by getting those Pell Grants right on and not paying them back, not finishing up the school, not getting the degrees that they were supposed to. The horse that these people rode in on, right? I pray to God that nobody I know rode in on that same horse, right? Because it's about to go down. Like nobody understands. Like the penny pinch is about to get real. Why won't they come? They have no reason to not come after every single dollar that they think is theirs. I would come after mine. It's only logical to come after what you think is owed to you, or what you believe is belonging to you for whatever reason, or lack of a better terms. Um, this is the dangerous times that we're living in, y'all. Whatever they think that their laurels that they're resting on, like I mean, and that's pretty much what I mean by the horse you rode in on. All the things that you came here with that you thought were gonna just carry you, because a horse carries you, right? So for people to think like, oh, I don't own a horse. No shit, you probably don't own a horse. But there are laurels that you rest all your energy on, that you rest your vessel on. You say, I did this, or I did this, or I'm capable of this. So therefore treat me this way. Or allow for this this happening to take place. Where in a normal circumstance or in another circumstance with different discernment and judgment, circumspect, a person wouldn't allow for this to take place. These are things that a person must look at. They're imperative. Um, did you notice that the person who's writing about these things is they're saying my, my, I. Listen to that. This is somebody who actually did the job. So if you're handling it at any level, people have to recognize that you might not be called a clerk, but you might indeed perform clerical duties. That in turn makes you a clerk. Just because you don't see it that way doesn't mean that that's not the truth. Right. It's dangerous what they've done. They've made Black people to believe that there's like virtually no chance or no hope, right? And you've got Black people who think that they need to vote in this process. They just need to stand back and watch what happens. Let's just see what happens. That's what I want to see. Let's just see what they do, y'all. They're so smart. They know everything, don't they? Well, they say they do. So let them show us that they know everything. Because I'm tired of people asking me in my face to real life, obviously, like, what do you think is going to happen? When it's obvious what's going to happen. It's clear. If I haven't read it to you guys, if I didn't just read it to you guys, what they're trying to do, they're trying to, once again, if they don't want Trump in office again, Mike Pence is going to take over. People thought it was bad when Trump was in office. It's going to be terrible with one Mike Pence. There's no question. They're like, how could you even think there's a comparison between how you're going to get treated? This is why it's so dangerous for people to think that, oh, they're talking about impeaching this guy. If he was Obama, black people would be fucking terrified. Oh, they're gonna impeach Obama. Oh, racist ass crackers. It'd be the first thing they want to say. But a racist like white dude seeming to be impeached, but not for being a racist white dude. No, just for being a grimy one. And people think that this is their way out. But it's like, if your life has changed only because of this, what you think is a trade war, then understand that these were things that were going to come anyway. I told everybody this. Like, they're only blaming it on this so that way they can assuage the feelings that would come with this happened normally and naturally, and not something that these people put together. They knew that those people were, the Chinese government had strong indication that there would be rioting in their country when the trade war took off, because they knew that there would be so many businesses that lost their business. They understood that this was a possibility. What they didn't see coming was several months of what are now drawn out and tactical protests, where they're in specific areas, okay, to hurt them. Once again, the horse that they rode in on is hurting them. I can't stress it enough. We could call it corporate greed, but it's really their horses. It's their laurels. It's what they rested on that they thought was going to carry them. Okay. And they believe that just having so many people, right, and people will look for work and this, that, and the. Hey, look, man, nobody wants to drive super duper far to get paid peanuts when there's somebody else who doesn't have to do very much every day and they make everything. That's nonsense. That doesn't even, it can't even begin to equivalent to something that a person wants to hear. One of my favorite things to talk about is when the people on Wall Street paid themselves $900,000 an hour plus. Pretty sure they were paying themselves $1 million an hour back when the financial markets crashed in 2008. And people think that that's like, they're like, whatever. But I'm like, that's $1 million an hour. So imagine if you worked a 12-hour day. That's $12 million. Okay? These are the kinds of people who are silent billionaires or loud ones, depending on where they live and how they live, right? But these are the same people who rested their laurels, and they're resting all their, that once again, they depend on what is and not what could be to carry them. Because I'm sure right now, if the Chinese had a chance to go back and really look at the trade war, like, because it depends on, like, I did a video called China's Economic Winter almost a year ago. Right. And people don't even recognize I did that because I seen what was happening. Anyway, there was already little small riots about the air quality. Okay. So what did China do? They said, all right, we're going to stop taking all American trash. The air quality has slowly improved just a wee bit. It's funny how that happens, huh? We stop taking your trash and then all of a sudden our air quality improves. Look for the air quality in America all around to take a hit. Facts. Unless they're able to get the trash out. This is why I keep trying to tell people the recycling industry, alternative energy industry is going to take off. It'll take a little bit. Once again, I don't think we're getting out of here. There's a lot of time left this year, and some time we're going into April. I just don't see it happen. Man, it would be nice to get up out of here. I just don't see it. So what I'm saying is look to look to things like that coming. So if you know somebody who's looking for work, tell them to survive for the next 6 months, and don't worry. Um, Jobs in the recycling sector that haven't been available are going to open up. I'm sure. Maybe not in every state, but in states that are able to on take the burden, and most states will probably have to some capacity do this. But this is all about the horses that they rode in on, because everybody thought that they could just send their trash to China forever, probably. Like it's never gonna end. Right. And they're sending pretty much toxic waste to these people, damaged all their air quality. So much so that it made the Chinese feel like they had to retaliate by what? By poisoning the baby formula, the toys, anything, tainting any and all things they could. Now, of course, they wrote in on some of the same people who made those products, some of the same people who made those things that were hurtful, right, are some of the same businesses that have bit the bullet during this trade war. So don't worry. It's all kind of really funny how it works out. It's not funny. It's just ironic and more so deserving. Um, but a person really can't know how much damage is done until it all plays out. And what has happened with the president, this Trump whistleblower, you know, I really, I really encourage you to check out this link, y'all. I can't stress it enough. This is one of those things that if you look at it and you read it, and I've read it, you'll understand. You'll understand. You really will. You'll be like, holy shit! Like there have been people inside of this dude's White House who have pretty much been against him this entire time. That's dangerous. Some people don't see it like that. That's dangerous. You can't live like that. That's like being married to somebody who's plotting who's plotting to leave you and take you to court and clean you out. You know what I'm saying? Via the man or via the woman, depending on the party. Because women do get taken to court and get cleaned out. Doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen. Um, the Jennifer Dulos or whatever that young lady's name is. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I know her last name is Dulos. That's the guy that she married. Her family gave that dude a bunch of money, right? And he's like, I don't owe y'all nothing, but he told him he would pay him back. I'm not going to get carried away into that, but that's just an example, of somebody coming up off of a chick, just right off the top of my head recently. And I'm not saying that it's honorable what he did or it's respectable, but I do know of people to have used a woman to leverage their situation or to better their situation. It is what it is. Somebody's willing to help you, that's one thing, but I think taking advantage of them, I know taking advantage of somebody is wrong. And there's so many different levels as to how a person can be manipulated that it's best to just be respectful to what you know. So if you know that a person is willing to operate within this facet and arena, then let them operate in that facet and arena. But don't be disrespectful and don't be not mindful to what it is that they have to go through as a person. One of the most amazing things I have to say though about all of this and the horse she rode in on, it really is just how special it is right now of a time that we live. Once again, I can't stress you, this would never happen. Never. Never. What you're reading about right now would be like, or what I just read to you, but if you go and check it out yourself, it would be like you reading about why they got rid of Kennedy. You know what I mean? Like it would be like reading documents like that, like the real reason they got rid of Kennedy. You know, they just came out with it and this was just like, yeah. So understand that the clerk or the person playing a clerical position felt that the law had been broken, right? So much so that they told. Think about how dangerous that is. You know, what's going on, fam? I'm just talking about, you know, the horse that these people ride in on and why it's really forget them. Because that horse always breaks down and something always happens. And there's been several different occasions already that have taken place where I know that people should be respectful and really should look at it. You know, that link is a powerful link, bro. Uh, we might not get any more information like this, exactly like it, for who knows how long. You know, I can't think of the last time I seen something that was, at, I mean, it took place, you know, these are different. It's different transcripts, but they have stuff from pretty much when the president was trying to get into the from when Donald Trump was just a presidential candidate to where he is now as the president. And so it pretty much has it as like President Trump is trying to get the dirt on Joe Biden, right? But I know there's something more to it. Like he knows something, but without saying too much on the phone, he can only speak to what he knows, you know, that he can say without it being, because he knows that all of it's recorded. I'm sure he's had basic conversations that he didn't even realize were like recorded like that at the time, and then got to see like, yo, we have the whole conversation, you know, from things from where they laugh to where there's even like a lull or a moment in time where there's nobody speaking. I'm sure they have the complete transcript. I'm sure they have it's all the way in depth. I know it is. So whatever took place, the president couldn't say too much. You know what I mean? But I'm sure he knows. Whatever it is that there is to know, I think he already knows it. And he wants it to be to like the Ukrainian government puts it out, you know, not like he came out there and had the dirt on dude, because there's a level of class that you have to present, you know, when you air somebody out. Like he didn't air out Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton got aired out because of emails that got sent to a guy who eventually was being investigated. And I can honestly say, if those emails don't ever come out, Hillary Clinton is probably the president right now, for sure, for sure. It was a close margin, but it was like there was things like that I know when people went to like the ballot box, they were like, I can't vote for her. You know, I can't vote for that. That's crazy. Pizzagate was the only thing they could think of. You know, and I'm sure a whole million voters, at least 1 million people, were thinking of that when they were voting and voted against the chick. She lost because of some emails. The horse that you ride in on can be the very animal, can be the very thing that takes you down, you know. And this is why the Most High God tells people, man, don't trust in the chariots, the horses, right on, or the soldiers. You know what I mean? Don't trust none of that, because it can all fail you, you know. Um, but they're not trying to hear that. There's a lot of speculation as to how the mind works, um, and people do want to believe that whoever did this did the right thing, and that they were just operating within their better conscience, and that's fine. I can't. I'm not going to dictate how another person is to look at the information. All I'm saying is that if you look at it with both of your eyes open, though, it seems very duplicitous, and the way that it's going to play out or to come back is going to have a very negative, double negative, triple negative impact on the parties it's meant to help. Um, You can't do that. You just can't. You know, that's like working at a job and everybody does like an activity that they're not supposed to do. Like, let's say like they all take like an extra 5 or 10 minutes on break, right? And then this person is telling on one person in particular because on their break, this guy takes a swig of liquor every once in a while, but it's a known thing that he's not the only one, right? So what happens when whistleblowers like, well, he's drinking on the job, but it comes to find out that all these other cats that you didn't know were going to be affected, all these cats that that you thought you were helping out, they're all brought down by your same effort, you know. Okay, so you got to realize whoever runs with Joe Biden has to be careful that this Ukraine thing doesn't come back on him. So who's going to want to run with them? Right. Joe Biden could gain what you call empty points in the polls because this right here could ultimately tumble down to where his son Hunter Biden and he could be involved in some questionable activity, right on, or just be involved in some questionable community within Ukraine. And those are the sorts of things that people don't see coming. But I've been the one for a long time to be like, yo, look for it because it could happen just like this. It's been happening certain ways, and of course they're not going to put everything in the news because they don't want you to know everything. But the horses that they're riding in on, man, are some rickety, broke down horses. And it's easy to say, forget them and that horse. It really is. It is. Both index fingers up. You know what I'm saying? It really is. It is so easy to say that to them because it's sickening to look at the situation and then for everybody to kind of try to step back and be like, try to justify, well, it's okay because it's happening to this person. But it wouldn't be okay if it happened to somebody else. So how are you justifying it for them? You see what I'm saying? Like, this is why Black people don't understand. Like, you can't go hooray because a white dude that you don't like is finally getting a taste of some medicine that you know that you wouldn't want to happen to you. You have to look at it and still say, well, this is unjust. And more than likely, if it's because the powers that be, they have a greater investigative purpose and chance, so their ability to really look into it and vet the situation is far better than a normal civilian, who has limited resources. When this stuff is all said and done, there's going to be somebody who, possibly multiple parties who are running, who this adversely affects. And I'm talking about crucially, because who knows what kind of emails have been passed between one party or another, and who knows who's really involved with one person or another. You don't know. You can't say, oh, for sure, I know for a fact that these guys are not involved. How do you know that? You don't know. And that's what's dangerous, is you have too many people who are willing to make an assumption based on, once again, the laurels of a person, right? What they're resting upon, right? Their past accomplishments and deeds. Can you dig it? Their trophies, things like that. But because they're puffed up on these things, people will overlook it. I want y'all to really think about something. They can point out the numbers, this, that, and the other. I don't really care about all that. When Barack Obama was the president, the question of white supremacy or whatever that people think that is, but for true, serious deal, white racism wasn't even talked about like that. Wasn't. It took a guy who people are accusing of being a white racist right now for the conversation to even come out when we've been knowing that black people have been going through this since we've been here. And we've long had the ability to use the platforms, okay, to either promote or negate the things that we feel are helpful or hurtful to us. Haven't used those platforms wisely. Not an opinion, it's a fact, it's an observation. It's a basic observation. The people who should be telling the people more positive, better things, they don't tell the people positive, better things. Because once again, the laurels that they rest on aren't positivity. They rest on the drama and the nonsense and the foolery. They depend on it. They can't make a living off of good news, and they can't get views off of the good news. And the people who've made a reputation off of that, right? That's what they do or something. I don't really understand like the formula per se, but I watch it and I see it and I get it. Like I do see that much. I can perceive what it is. But if you're doing what I'm doing, which is hard line, much more hard line, because nobody wants to talk about these things. Because when they happen to you, then they really truly do adversely affect you. It's not going to be good for anybody if the guy right now, listen, I want you to understand this. If the guy right now gets impeached, okay, so who's going to do business on the international scheme? What does North Korea do? Does a country like Iran seek to? I mean, you got to understand, cultural differences make people look at you different. So you have several of the front runners of the opposite party who are trying of the opposing party who are trying to take over, right on, are chicks. One of them is a gay dude, and the other two are old ass white guys. I need y'all to think about this. One of the old ass white dudes right now is gonna have his whole campaign derailed by this very situation right here. It's gonna come undone. I don't see this being the thing that they would pretty much have to go over to Ukraine and do a cleanup job, you know, silence everybody who could say something, get rid of all the information that's out there, and then act like whatever took place never happened. That's it. But this isn't a movie. This is real life. Uh, so I don't see that. I don't see that coming. I don't see that taking place. What's more, once again, what's realistic is this is gonna undo whatever the effort was supposed to do. And I can't stress this to y'all enough is whatever you're resting on, whatever you think is carrying you, okay, could be the thing that undoes you. I I I think it's funny because for people who believe that the gun is gonna save them, okay, so what are they gonna do versus people who are armies who are coordinated, okay, to do coordinated assaults when there's no army in your city to fight back against these kinds of people. Like it's just the idea that you're hearing from some of these guys, like they're gonna fight back with a pistol or with their own rifle versus like well trained. You pretty much would have to be in a militia. Your militia would have to be right then and there ready. There's just a bunch of different little things that go into that, but it's just I don't see it. The horses that these people have rode in on, rickety, broke down horses, man. Their ideas, their mentality is weak, you know, and they're gonna, bro, they're gonna feel it eventually, bro. You can't get around that. You know what I'm saying? There's no getting around that, you know. Uh, but and as I get ready to capsize my talk, I just have to say this right here that this might be the best thing that happened to Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. Yep. Because if Joe Biden is the front runner, what happens is this. Let's say that this neutralizes Joe Biden. Whoever's running with him is automatically neutralized just like that too. God forbid it's another front runner who's running with Joe Biden. Election lost just like that. Trump wins just like that. Automatic, hands down. I need y'all to really see how this could go. We're a long way from there. So they would have to come with some pretty damaging information. Because what I was going to read to you, there was no true crime that they could say was committed. And that makes the difference. I hope none of y'all were at home doing the Harlem Shake over this guy getting an impeachment inquiry fucking formally launched against him. I really pray. I'm so serious because the wall has to get built. Do y'all not understand that? Do you not get it? You have to get out of here. So the broad wall of Babylon has to come up. Put it up. This is spiritual and physical Babylon, but this is more of a spiritual place than it is anything. But this is a vestige where the soul of Babylon has taken root in a physical form. You're watching it take place right before your eyes. Don't worry. The guy's going to win. And there's nothing that anybody can do about it. Natural causes would have to get him first. That's it. I don't know if you guys are really going to appreciate this for what it is, but this is really actually, that link is so much power. You got to go to the link. You have to. It's a must. Please go to the link. Please check out the information. Please don't be shy. Do yourself that much of a solid. It will be of a great benefactor to you. Excellent benefactor to you. And what won't happen is you won't be put in a position to where if this thing blows up, like I think it will, you won't not know what's going on. You'll know. You'll be like, that's not what happened. That's not what it said at first. It said this, that, and the other. That's why you need to be informed. I'm just one guy. I'm a lowly guy, but I always do my best to bring to you information that I know is different. Or I got some stuff that's pretty much done. Lion of Judah pretty much done. It's close. Probably need like 3 more days. Maybe not even that. I need at least 2 more days. I gotta make sure that this recording is right, and then I gotta make sure that that I have all the information that I want into it. I won't put it all in one video, but I'm gonna put a lot into one video, and then the ones that are subsequent will be shorter. But this one video needs to cover a lot of different ground. I want y'all to know the horse that I'm riding on, my own little laurels. I'm a believer. The only thing that could blow up in my face is that everything I believe is not real. It's totally fake. That's it. I've got nothing else to lose though. See? They've got everything to lose. Because if they're riding in on laurels that are placed upon or placed up on fake statues and status that was not garnered by them themselves, then by they themselves, and it's just one of those things where they're always going to be in question, and they'll never be any good. But I say this right here to you, and I say it seriously. When they come to you with all this bullshit, doesn't matter what it is, you always got to think what the Messiah said. You know, if they reject you in the city, right? Dust your gates off, dust your sandals off at the gate. You feel me? I'm out of here. And that means forget you. You feel me? You gotta do the same thing with the horses that they ride on, because you have to realize that there's nothing here. When you read when you actually guys, I'm praying you guys get the chance to read it and realize it's actually more about the Russian probe than it is about anything else. But they disguise this Ukrainian nonsense with it, so that way they don't seem like that. But they still haven't even given up on that. You see what I mean? So it's like, but that's the horse that they're gonna ride in on, and that's dangerous. It's not that they've already found that there's no collusion or whatever. It's the fact that, are you gonna undo the wall if you get voted in president? Hmm? You gonna tear it down? Hmm? Right. You don't understand, y'all. Listen, there's a lot of people who are making money right now because that wall is getting built, who have a job right now because that wall is getting built. Who gets the contract to demo it? What are you going to do if people start trying to attack you for trying to tear it down? Huh? What happens when there's full blown battles over the wall and that sort of capacity? See, it hasn't happened, but you had better pray that if that dude gets kicked out of the office, that whoever takes over doesn't totally flip the script, and because yeah, then people will toil in vain in the fire for sure. And if there's any sort of domestic disturbance like that, why wouldn't you, if you're from the south of the country, not feel compelled to rush up in this bitch and do something real brave? Not even stupid, just brave. Like, people, your time is always appreciated. That's why I salute you. Now I get ready to carry on with the rest of my day and get ready for work, deal with the workload or whatever as it may be. But I tell you this, the horse that they rode in on is a dirty, broken horse. The old rusty laurels that nobody cares about. Right on. He was a champion in a time when people couldn't do certain things to you. Right on. Or he played in a game when they had so many rules that only certain people could win. No, 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 no. The horse that they rode in on is broken, y'all. And whoever did that, this tells you how broken the whole system is. That's what I'm talking about right there. The American system is broken into pieces. And if you don't recognize it, it's going to be too late by the time you try to make a move. Please do everything in your power to protect yourselves and to keep yourself safe, because that's all you got. That said, much appreciate all your time. Much appreciate you. Good day.